the visual order of the design and the layout composition. So I'll start with typography. It's basically defined as the style of the text. So it can range from fonts to the type it is written, such as we can see that here is like a typewriter. The typewriter fonts, some like the handwriting, and some are the modern fonts which you have seen in newspapers or any other websites. And these are some of the examples of the styles of writing. So as you can see, these are quite innovative, and this isometric style I personally prefer very much. So it looks really cool. And the other thing that I like is the minimal style. So you can see that they have tried to use as little as complications the design. So they have removed the eyes and just used the negative space within the M and N's to display the eyes, right? So we'll get into more of this as we go ahead. So another example of this would be this one. This poster we actually made using Illustrator, so it's a bit difficult to talk about, but I'll try to simplify it as much as I can. So this poster, this font actually uses a vignette. If you have heard about it, it is actually shadow around the, let's suppose a virtual light source that we have made. So to make it sort of a shadow effect around the coming soon written. And some of you may recognize this style, as we have also used this in the e-weekend release posters, if you have seen it. So let's moving on. So let's talk about some of the font styles that I also mentioned before, right? So let us suppose I want to talk about I want to think this sentence. It is actually a title in this context. So a title font must, as you can see, must be bold, or it must contain it must be thick enough. This is actually called the span, right? The letters that cover the word, the distance they cover, that can be called a span. So most of the headings that we see in newspapers, and let's just give another example here. I think it was, yeah. So here this span. See, as you can see, it is small, right? It is called a condensed font, or it can be quite expanded font. Those are called expanded fonts. Some of them are like this one. See there how much spread they are, and compared to the height of the letters. So this is called a span. And another thing that we want to remember is the distance between the two letters. As long as they're uniform, the font will look good. The next thing is the body font. This is quite common. You have used it several times. This is actually sans font, if you have heard about it. So you have used it several times in WordPad, Notepad, or whatever writing software you can think of. The next is the Mary Oliver. This is once again a condensed font. See how the letters are squeezed together. So these three different fonts have been used as a title, the body, and the captions, right? Names of the font have also been mentioned. If you are interested, we will actually try to recreate this later on in the session. So let's move on to the colors palette, right? So color plays a really vital role in designing an everyday life. So as you some of you may be familiar. In fact, all of you may be familiar. This is the color wheel, right? Now it is divided into two parts: the warm section of the colors, which is mostly shades of red and yellow, and the cool part, which is blue and green. Now, while choosing a color scheme for your design, we can always take help of the color palette. When taking like two similar parts of the same part of the design, we can take the analogous colors. Right, so they are always colors which are of the same category, maybe cool or maybe warm. So the colors are quite similar. Or we can choose complementary colors to create a bit of more contrast. We can do that using two diametrically opposite colors, which are known as the complementary colors, right? And we can play around with the shades a bit. You can see the colors I have actually toned them down a bit, so they're not as bright. But these slightly muted forms can actually be used in more modern or business-oriented posts. Like they need to be subtle and they don't need to be very playful. once again, some color schemes that are actually very terrible with the red and blue. Right? The blue text on the red font that actually is quite painful for your eyes. But if we work around that, we can use the same color scheme, but just change the fonts a bit and kind of change the alignment, change the shades. I have darkened the blue and sort of muted a red a bit when compared to the previous slide. One moment. See, so we can work with this one. This is much better. This is not as painful to the eyes, and it can be used in quite a lot of designs. The blue and red font, the blue and red combo, I personally prefer and have used in multiple designs as well. So moving on, this is the hierarchy part. This will be explained by Anupam sir. Anupam, if you would continue, please.
Yeah, thank you, Rohit. Before telling you what is hierarchy, I just want to say what is the need of the thing hierarchy in this session. So, what you guys are gonna be? You guys are gonna participate in some events next month, and then there will be e-summit, another event. Then in between there may be some other events of eSelf. So, and some of you will be joining the OCs, that is the organizing committees, and then later on some of you will be a part of the JU ESL working committee, that is the coordinators. So in that coordinate, I am a member of coordinator, and the others you see here, the seniors, they all are the part of the coordinators. So in the coordinator section we have some set of people who are there for the designing things, and we make posters, we design something for the events, we design the layouts, everything. And there, what is the purpose of that posters? So now you know that everything is going on in online. So these posters, these illustrations are the only thing by which we can attract the persons. And who are the persons? Just think about the number of students in the college. And not only the students, your posters will be reaching to our professors, to some of the owners of big multinational companies, and also some persons like Aman Dhatarbal. Now imagine when Aman Dhatarbal comes to our session in the last e-summit he came. Maybe in the next e-summit he or someone else will come. So whenever they are coming and they are just curious about, let's see how they have made my poster, the announcement of my date, and he is not satisfied with the poster you have made. So that will be a really bad impression, because suppose in the announcement poster what you have done, you have just put his picture in not in a correct way, or just made his name smaller than the event dates. So that is not our preference. So in everything is very much connected here. So previously what Rohit taught, the color palettes or something else, actually this is not a session of graphic design. We are not going to teach you like Illustrator or Photoshop or something, but we will tell you the way your posters will be catchy. You have always heard the word catchy, that things should be catchy in online. So for this word catchy, this term hierarchy is very much needed. So just let me be in brief. Is This hierarchy contains three things. First is attract, second is intrigue, and third is convey the message. Now, see, the attract part is much more bigger than the other two, and then there is intrigue, and then the convey the message. So, why convey the message? You must say that message is the most important thing for a event. I know. We always want to convey the message through a poster, but if you make all the text very much bright in your poster and not the design or not the intrigue part, then no one is gonna read this, no one is going to read your poster. So your poster should not be at all text heavy. Rohit, move on to the next slide. Yeah. So when you see this poster, the first thing you will always see that you will read this first. Everyone, none of you will see the small letters. Then below that, then you will read this next line, and he has always mentioned that what you will see next, because the person who has made this poster, he wants you to see in the way he has made the poster. So, and there is a small letter sentence you can see. That's why you hire a professional. So, what he has done? he has put something in some format that will attract you first, and then something else on the second thing, that is called the intrigue part, that will attract you the next, and the third thing, that is the text he wants to convey. So when you are getting attracted by the first two things, you will always read the third thing, that is the convey the message. But if you put the message part in front of everyone at first, everyone is seeing a poster which is very much text heavy, no one is gonna get interest in it. They will just ignore it. So first you have to make something very much catchy that will attract the viewer's viewpoint, point of view, and then you will automatically switch to our main part, which is the convey the message. Right, next slide. So these are some random posters I liked and I picked up. So I'll talk about the Nike poster first. So see, whenever you see the Nike poster, you see the shoe. That is the point of attract. So everyone when they are viewing the poster, they will get noticed by the Nike shoe. And then there is a catchphrase: "Results don't lie." So that is the intrigue part, and then automatically you will see the last line, Nike Zoom Verify 4%. So that was their message that they wanted to convey, but they didn't show it much more bigger than the others. So they focused on the design part first, that will attract the viewers, and then they just easily conveyed you to the message part. And just and don't think that this design or this attract part should be always done by some pictures or some elements or some illustrations. You can just use some catchphrase to attract them, and then easily can bring them to your convey part. So these all things are to be expressed by your experience. So no one is gonna teach you like this should be done or that should be done, as you will be making posters. Hello, yeah. Hello.
Yeah, you are audible. Go on.
কেউ কিছু বলছিল না? Okay, anyway. So I was telling that this attraction parts is to be done by something from your mind. So no one is gonna teach you that you put this design to attract the people. There will be no one. So it should be come through your experience and through your knowledge. So whenever you are making the illustration further, please keep in mind the hierarchy part, because it is very much important. Rohit, you can move. I guess Dhritiman will talk about layout, or Ritam.
Okay, so hi guys, I'm Dhrutuman. So we're starting with layout and composition. The layouts are the basically the building blocks of design, as you know. It is basically how you arrange your content. It doesn't matter which text you are working or image you are working with, but a well composed layout will stand out amongst others, and other than that, it will basically fall apart. Next slide. Okay, so there are five basic principles we keep in mind. That is proximity, white space, alignment, contrast, and repetition. Next. Okay, so what is proximity? Proximity is basically all about using this visual space to show relationship in your content. So what it is simply is, you have to make sure that related items are grouped together. For example, blocks of text, or it may be elements in a graphic, etc. So here we have this example. You can see this. There is this search function which is located in the same line as the main navigation of the site, but we have kept this extra white space here, so that we can show that it belongs to separate groups and thus have a distinctive functionality. Next slide. So alignment, you are all aware of this, I guess. So there's not much to talk about, but keeping the texts and all aligned makes it aesthetically pleasing while designing a poster or something. So white space. White space is an important part of every composition, and it is basically there's no correct way to use white space, but white space helps you to define and separate the different functions. They basically giving your content space to breathe. So if your work ever starts feels cluttered or uncomfortable, then it will not look nice. So it's important that you have this idea of white space, which you can use when designing. Here are these examples also. It's shown in this thing how white space is used to make the image look slightly better than the previous one. Next, Rohit. Rohit, next slide.
I think there's some problem with internet. His video is also frozen.
I know that. Okay, so contrast simply means that one item is different from other. So this will help you basically create an emphasis or call attention to something important. Like here, we have taken this example. We have used different colors. We have used more than one style of text and objects of different sizes. So this is making the design more dynamic, and therefore it is helpful in communicating the message that we intend to do. Rohit, next.
So let us look at some examples of the posters and the different posts that we have made over the last year. So this was the, as you can see, this poster has very few colors. There are only two colors actually. This is the magenta color and
Rohit, the tab has not changed. We are
right.
still seeing the PPT ka slide.
So
Okay.
is it visible now?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this poster, as you can see, it is quite a very simple poster. Like it has only two colors, right? And the use of this vector, the rocket vector, actually has helped convey a message, right? And as Anupam also had described about hierarchy. So the first thing that you see has the word dream. So that's what that's what draws you in, and this quote and these two pictures are capturing your attention. So that's how hierarchy is in play here. And I will also show another post, like one moment. We released these posters when Sapphire Foods came up with their IPO. So once again, you can see that we are drawing you in with the pictures and the Sapphire Foods India writing, and they are trying to hold your attention using the rest of the text. So use of these vectors and the images are trying to keep you in reading the next pages. And see, this page actually has a lot of text, so we had to work around it, right? So we decided to keep the background with the multiple small images in the background, and use the text as the main sort of attract, as you have already heard. So in this case, the text is a bit heavy, but it is still not unreadable. Once again, the table once again actually acts as attract. And that will be it for this one. The finally will be an event poster that we actually released for eSummit. So this actually has a lot of colors in it. So at some points it might be too difficult to see all the different vectors that have been used. But that was actually the point. We don't want you guys to focus on the background. Like these two icons, they also have sort of been shifted to the side. So they are not as important as the logo itself. So that's what we are trying to focus you on. So this is actually the event release poster for Mockstock, right? So the Mockstock logo was the only thing that we wanted you to focus on. So
Another thing would be, this would be actually a case study, the slides for the case study that was prepared last year. So as you can see, the simple designs are also quite preferred. If you keep the slides very simple with only the text, right? Right, very simple. These are the minimalistic posts, so you don't have to do a lot of complications. And if you keep only the required part, it still serves its purpose. So let us try to incorporate all we have learned, right? So all of these terms, they don't practically actually mean anything. So when we design, we only try to keep what looks better. So bringing it all together, I'd like to try and design a post. Like, one moment. So let's try to
Before you
recreate this.
start design, before you start designing, Gargidi wants to say something. Now,
All right.
Gargidi is JUESL student head and she's a fourth year chemical engineering student.
Hi guys, thanks Pranay for queuing me in. So first of all, great job on the presentation. This is a very important session which I think the students have really put up for you guys. I would just like to highlight a few key points before Rohit does the uh, live demo for you guys. It is just that right now we are talking a lot about posts, but what is the key skill that needs to be highlighted here is being a fourth year student in Jadavpur University. I realize how much it is important for you guys to have these designing skills, because for now you might be thinking it's just for a poster. It's not. It's more about you understanding the aesthetic of presenting or expressing your ideas, because going forward from whichever department you are from or whichever faculty you are from, you might have to do your seminar presentations, your paper presentation, idea submission, any kind of presentation. You will need these skills. So I have seen few of my batchmates who express so beautifully, and the idea really gets across, and just few people just read out from the PPT, and even the teachers are also not very engaged. So if you guys realize the key ideas that all of them are putting forward, you will be able to apply it. And like, unless and until you apply it, you won't be able to get the skills exactly on your fingertips. So try as small as making a birthday card for your friend or for your family. Maybe make a vision for 2022. These are few things will help you get accustomed to your designing skills, and you will be able to express your ideas better, which is the key point that everyone needs to understand here. So it's not only for designers, it's for everyone. So this is a basic skill that you should have right now, because you will need it. I'm telling you, even for making your CV, you're going to need this idea of spacing, where to put what fonts you should use. So these are few things that I think you will value from this session. So over to you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Karkidi. So I'll just continue right now. Is the screen visible?
Yeah.
All right. So this is a poster that was actually made in a like 1 hour or so. So the key aspects that we want you to focus on are the positioning of the elements, right? How to position random elements and try to make it look good. That is what we will try to explain here. So I'll just start from scratch.
Rohit, Shaurodeep has a question. So
All right.
go on, unmute yourself and ask your question. So he left the meeting. Uh, I think he left the meeting. You can continue.
All right. So what I'll be trying to do here is actually explain the different functions of Canva, right? So it is actually very basic. It's not as flashy as Illustrator or Photoshop, but it works just fine for starting off in designing. So this poster actually has three things. As you can see, there's a text part. This is what we'll be working on first. Then there's the image that we have used filters and a sort of a screen on to make it match with the aesthetic of the post. And there are the extra elements, where the logos and the text, to just sort of elements that kind of work with the post and make it look good, right? So I'll start with the text first. So this is the text tab. In case you are not seeing all the options that you are here, just click on more and try adding whichever you like. More from Canva. These parts will contain the elements, uploads, text, logos, whatever there is, and add whatever you want. So I'll just start off with the text part. So Poppins font, actually I have used quite a lot of times, and I actually prefer this font for sort of headings and even sometimes for the bodies. Over here, there's a spacing tab that helps you change the letter spacing. And you cannot actually see the difference between line spacing here, but if there are multiple lines, let's just say, so using the line spacing, you can see what is actually happening. So this is quite intuitive, all the options here in Canva. So I'll just start off and right. So I guess that looks good. And then adding the different elements like the nouns and the definition of the word. Those of you who are already familiar with this will actually be quite boring. So I'll try to be as fast as possible with this. So just try to make it look as much pleasing as possible, and but not too much, but not too, let us say, the noun I'm trying to make it as small because it's not the most important part of the page, but try not to make it so small that no one is able to see it. And the last part will be the text. Let me just actually copy this text. The aligning option also you're already familiar with, if you have used Word or MS Word or Notepad or whatever. So this Open Source Light, quite similar to Open Sans Light. This actually is quite a good font for the bodies and all, if you are interested. Next, I'll add the image. I've actually already uploaded the image, so I'll just bring it in. This one. So I'll try to make it as similar to the one that I've already done. So there will be a lot of trial and error. So this one I've already made, so I am sort of breezing through. But if you're making it for the first time, there will be a lot of trial and error. So try to work through it. Be convinced that you will end up with something that you can work with, right? So don't just give up. So there's the edit image tab, which will we can actually use the filters already available. They're quite good, but I'll just reduce the saturation here. Saturation actually is the term that is used to describe the color content in the image. So if we increase the saturation, the bright colors will become brighter, as you can see. And if we reduce it all the way down, all the color disappears. The other tabs are the contrast tab. The contrast, if you are actually used any photo editing software, the contrast tab actually increases the like the sort of the brightness difference between two consecutive pixels, if that makes sense to you guys. So if we increase the contrast, you can see the darker portion becomes more darker and the lighter portions sort of become more white and start to blind you at the end. And the brightness tab increases the brightness of the overall image. So this you will learn with experience. So this is not very important right now. The next part is the screen, so that I can make it sort of look similar to the background. So I'll add an element, which is a rectangle here. Resizing it to the image and then dropping the opacity, which is this option right here. as you can see. So I like this one quite well, so quite good. So I'll just move on to the next part. Just try to play around with the positions a bit so you can see what works best. So, and while talking, this is quite an annoying feature in Canva. Like sometimes you have to drag the all over the object to select the image. So sometimes you may be seeing that the image is not moving as intended. So it might be because you have selected only the screen if you have used this effect. So try to remember that. Oh, actually, at one moment, this was actually bold. Yeah. Another element that I added was sort of this teardrop, the raindrop in this case. So if I search drop, so I think I use this one. This is actually a graphic, or it is an SVG image. If you know about the term SVG, it basically is an image that you can change the colors in Canva if I want to dumb it down. SVG images are actually used all over in the website designing. It is actually quite common using SVG images instead of PNGs in websites. So I'll add this one at the bottom. Right. The next is this, the actual definition of petrichor, the thing that's written in the dictionary. So, oops. One more thing that you can do, I want to copy this style, the style of this text into this one. So one thing you can do is select this text. There's a paint roller symbol, that is the copy style option. Select it. The dark bar appears, that means the style is copied, and then click on the required element and boom. And I want to add the quotes. So once again, move into the elements tab. Add quotes. Oh, there it is. I'll just make it black. I'll duplicate it. Duplicate, you can press Control D, that is the shortcut for duplicating, and then rotate it 180 degrees. Now I want to align it. I want to align all these three elements like I've done in this one. So first I'll try to align the quotes. Select the positions tab, and then we can choose where we want to align. So I'm aligning the top of these elements. So, and now I want to space all these three evenly. So I'll again select all three, position them, and then space them even horizontally. Now now it might be tiresome to keep dragging and selecting all of them. So what we can do is actually group the elements, which is Control G, the shortcut. If we group them, there's also the menu here, the group. Just group them, then by selecting any one, we are actually selecting all of them, right? So I'm resizing and seeing what looks good. If you're wondering how I'm zooming in, zooming out, it's actually Control plus minus. If you have the numeric keypad in your keyboard, if not, you can just use the slider. It works perfectly fine. So once again, this looks a bit high, so bring it down. The next part is the logo. Now, this is actually a random logo that I made just because I couldn't use actually any other logo without seeming unoriginal. So how I made this was actually to make this hollow kind of rectangle, I actually used two two rectangles. One was the dark color that I intended, and then used another rectangle inside. I duplicated it and then made it a bit smaller. I just placed it inside and then changed the color to the background. I guess this one looks fine. And now moving on to the logo part, I'll add a text and just write logo. And I use the font Anton, which is quite good for headings. So this is here. And now we will use the spacing, the letter line spacing to reduce it just a bit so I can fit it in the rectangle. And maybe play around with the letter spacing a bit. Looks fine as is. Resize it and place it there. Maybe I should reduce it a bit, the width of the rectangles. This will actually be quite boring because I will just be doing trial and error for what looks best. Try to stick with me. And finally, the sort of this element, the random word sound nice. So I used rectangle, rotate it 180 degrees again. Oops. And I want to use a similar text as this one again. So this time I'll just duplicate it and write what I want. Once again, reduce the spacing, line spacing to sort of fit it in the arrow. Now this anchor text box, it actually tells you which line to anchor along when you are changing the letter spacing. So top anchor just means this top anchor just means the topmost line of the text box, which is this one right here. Bottom lines is this one. And if you anchor middle, so it will use just the center line, the middle line of the text box. If there are multiple lines, that is in case of this one, there are 3 lines, odd number, that will just use the center of this first line, right? So I'll reduce it to fit it into the arrowhead. Yeah, that looks fine, I guess. The last thing left to do is actually adding a sort of a screen over it, which is a texture screen. Canva has a lot of elements in its database, so it's quite good if you want to search for anything random. So I'll just type texture. You'll see how many textures there actually are there. So I've tried to use free elements as much as I can, but this one actually is not free. So Canva Pro and Canva Education, these two have actually these elements. So the free Canva members cannot actually access this. So that will not be much of a problem. But dropping down the transparency, we can actually see that we have created one poster that sort of looks nice. Petri chode poster, definition of Petri chode. So that will be the end for the demonstration. So moving on to Ritam. So if you are there, Ritam, please continue from here.
Yeah, so firstly, I want to add to this is as you will be participating in a lot of events in certain case study events, certain hackathons, one of the main things that will be as a place for judging criteria is your presentations. So over there, you will have to make sure that if you remember, in eSummit, we participate. Like I myself participated in like mostly all of the events. So the main thing you have to convince is when you present the slide, before even saying a word, the judges have an idea what you're going to talk about, or what is the idea that is in your head that you want to present. So it's like without even saying, the presentation talks for you. So one of the main reasons over here is in case of case studies, in case of certain hackathons where like currently, if you'll not be knowing, JUSC is conducting a hackathon over there. Some might include pitchings, some might not. If there is no inclusion of pitchings, you will have to stand out on your presentation, because they'll be judging how you are going into a problem, solving it, how you're coming up with new things, coming up with your idea into a new working models. All of that will be on the basis of a presentation. So you have to make sure that it must stand out, and it is very convincing, and it is actually explaining the each and every step that you're going through, that you're working on. All right. Rohit, can you move on to the next slide? Okay, so yeah, this is what we made out of is you do not have to think too much and use a lot of colors. Like personally, about this color scheme that I'm talking about, I've used when I was just starting out, I have used like 5 to 6 colors in a single slide. Then our seniors and my batchmates had said that no, use 2 to 3 colors over there. Yeah, I know Rohit gave me this specific slide to talk on, but okay, fine. And another thing is that make sure you're not coming up with only one poster. Let's say you have this particular idea in mind. What I do is I go through certain posts on Instagram, on Pinterest, and then I let's say on Pinterest I found a particular vector that might go well with my idea. So even in making some brochures for our events, we do not use only one post. We do not have only finalized one page. We make 2 to 3 pages. Then we find out like whether we change this part, and in the next page we think that no, this page is not good. We discard that. So you will not be coming up with only one page. Make sure to come up with 2 to 3 pages so that you can discard the rest and get the best out of it. And one of the if and not the best advice that I have got, one of the best, then and try to stick to maximum 3 colors in a post, in a slide, or in a presentation. That will be the best, because you are not overdoing things. All right. So is it the last page, or have we
Yeah,
done
I
it?
think it is
Okay.
actually.
So anything you guys want to ask, like yeah, these are our contact numbers, and Anupam missed his phone number. So you can contact us if you have any query regarding designing or regarding anything, and questions from your side right now. Like this is a completely new thing. Designing is a completely new thing for first year students.
দাদা
Good.
হ্যাঁ দাদা বলছি যে আমি দীপায়ন ভট্টাচার্য, পাওয়ার ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং ইউজি 1। তো আমার যেটা প্রশ্ন ছিল, এই ক্যানভা প্রোটা কিভাবে কিছুভাবে ফ্রিতে অ্যাক্সেস করা যায়?
ওটা আমরা ট্রাই করেছি, মনে হয় না, আই এম নট শিওর।
হ্যাঁ, মানে আমিও ট্রাই করছিলাম। আমি তো মানে কোনোভাবেই ওটা ফ্রিতে অ্যাক্সেস করা যাচ্ছে না। একটা শুধু দেখলাম 1 বছরের জন্য কিছু একটা হয়েছিল, ওই গিটহাবে সাবস্ক্রিপশন নিলে, তো সেটা একটা দেখেছিলাম। মানে গিটহাব অ্যাকাউন্ট বানালে তারপরে স্টুডেন্টদের জন্য একটা কিছু ফ্রি একটা ব্যাপার ছিল। তো
আচ্ছা।
তাছাড়া মানে লাইফ টাইমের জন্য কিছু পাচ্ছি না। ওটাও আমার হয়নি, মানে আমি
আচ্ছা।
পারিনি শেষ পর্যন্ত করতে।
আচ্ছা।
তো ওই জন্য তোমরা যদি জানো একটু বলো ওটা তাহলে।
আমাদেরও নেই, আমরাও নিজে কিনিনি। আমাদের
আমাদের অ্যাকচুয়ালি অর্গানাইজেশন থেকে একটা নেওয়া হয়েছে অ্যাকাউন্ট, ওটাই আমরা সবাই অ্যাকচুয়ালি একসাথে ইউজ করি।
অ্যাকচুয়ালি অ্যাক্সেস করি।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা আচ্ছা,
ব্যাপারটা ওটাই। ওই তো নেটফ্লিক্সের দাম কেন কমলো? ইন্ডিয়ারা কেউ পে করে না,
একদম
ব্যাপার না। তো সবাই স্পটিফাই কে ইউজ করে, স্পটিফাই এপিকে নামায়। আমি কি বলছি, আমি নিজে ইউজ করি এপিকে।
একদম না, নেটফ্লিক্স তো ইউজ করে না, সবাই টরেন্টে ওয়েব সিরিজ দেখে।
নেটফ্লিক্স টরেন্ট ইউজ করে, তাই তো। নেটফ্লিক্স কেউ ইন্ডিয়ার পাবলিক গুলো এমনি কেউ পে করতে চায় না।
তো যাই হোক, এটাই জিজ্ঞেস করা ছিল। ঠিক আছে,
হ্যাঁ, তো পুরোটা আমার ছিল।
আচ্ছা
Thank you.
আমার
আর
একটা জিনিস জিজ্ঞেস
দাদা আরেকটা জিনিস বলছি যে গ্রাফিক ডিজাইন যে করব, মানে ধরো আমি একটা এমনি শিখছি এখন, মানে ট্রাই করছি, ফটোশপটাও ট্রাই করছি, আর ক্যানভাতে আমি আগেই হ্যাবিচুয়েটেড ছিলাম।
আচ্ছা
তো
good, good.
তো যেটা জিজ্ঞেস করছি, মানে এখানে কি প্রফেশনাল কোনো কোর্স করার দরকার আছে, মানে যেখানে সার্টিফিকেট দেয়, বা না নিজে ট্রাই করলে নিজে মানে জিনিসটা করতে পারলেই হবে?
দেখ এরপরে আমি যেটা করি, দেখ আমি আমি অ্যাপার্ট ফ্রম ক্যানভা আমি ইলাস্ট্রেটর ইউজ করি। সো রিগার্ডিং দ্যাট আমার কোনো প্রফেশনাল কোর্সেস করা নেই। লাইক আমার
আচ্ছা।
আমার যা রিকোয়ারমেন্ট আমার নিজের অ্যাকর্ডিং আমি করি। এবার তুই যদি একটু কি বলবো, আই এম নট সেইং কি আমি ইলাস্ট্রেটরও খুব ওয়েল ভার্সড, আমি ইউজ করি বাট আই এম নট লাইক রিয়েলি গুড এট ইট। তুই যদি প্রফেশনাল লাইনে যাবি, অ্যাজ ইন যেখানে তুই আর্ন করতে পারবি, ওটার দিকে তোকে ইউ হ্যাভ টু গো ফর প্রফেশনাল কোর্সেস।
ওকে, ঠিক আছে।
আদারওয়াইজ এমনি ক্যাজুয়াল ইউজেসের জন্য, অর্গানাইজেশনের জন্য, এমনি পোস্ট বানানোর জন্য, কোনো পেজের জন্য বানানোর জন্য, তো ওটার জন্য লাগবে না। বাট যদি ইফ ইউ আর থিঙ্কিং অ্যাবাউট আর্নিং মানি ফ্রিল্যান্সিং, তখন করতে হতে পারে।
আচ্ছা, থ্যাংক ইউ দাদা।
হ্যাঁ, নো প্রবলেম।
আচ্ছা বলছিলাম যে এসভিজি ফাইলগুলো কি ফটোশপে ওরকম ভাবে নামানো যায়, মানে ওটা ইউজ করার টেকনিকটা কি এসভিজি ফাইলগুলো?
ধৃতিমান ফটোশপ ইউজ করিস না?
হ্যাঁ, আরে দেখ বেসিক্যালি গুগলের মধ্যে সব থাকে, তো তোকে যেখানে দরকার, যেমন ফ্রি পিক বলে একটা সাইট আছে, তো তোকে ওখানে পেয়ে যাবি তুই অলমোস্ট সব কিছু, আর এটা ফ্রি নামাতে পারবি, অত চাপ হয় না।
एंड एसवीजी इलस्ट्रेटर का फॉर्मेट है, एसवीजी फोटोशॉप
हाँ,
का
but-
फॉर्मेट नहीं है।
बट
But we can
फोटोशॉप
actually
में
mainly
पूछा इसीलिए
SVG files.
मैं धृतिमान को, मैं फोटोशॉप यूज नहीं करता, मेरे को पता नहीं फोटोशॉप का एसवीजी का।
I guess SVG ফাইলগুলো রাস্টারাইজ করে ফটোশপ ইউজ করা যায়।
हाँ,
2000
रैस्टराइज करके तो कर ही
Raster
सकते हैं फोटोशॉप में कोई भी फाइल यूज, बट जनरली वो एसवीजी
एसवीजी इलस्ट्रेटर का होता है। हाँ, वेक्टर फॉर्मेट है ना उसका, वेक्टर
हम्म।
एक्सटेंशन है वो।
ওকে ওকে।
Anything else like fruitful? I just want to know if this was fruitful.
আর দাদা আমি কিছু জিজ্ঞেস করতাম।
हाँ sure.
ক্যারোসেল পোস্টে আমি কি বলে জেইউ রিসেলের যেই পোস্টগুলো নোটিস করছিলাম, এভরি ক্যারোসেল পোস্ট ইজ ডিফারেন্ট ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড। সো হোয়াট ডু ইউ বেস ইয়োর ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ডস অন, যাতে সিঙ্কে থাকে সব কটা? ডিফারেন্ট ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ডস কিন্তু সিঙ্কে আছে, তো তার জন্য কিছু কি স্ট্র্যাটেজি ইউজ করো, কি এরকম ভাবে কিছু আছে?
অ্যাকচুয়ালি যেটা আমার পার্সোনাল এক্সপিরিয়েন্স, আমি ডিজাইনিং থেকে আমার র্যান্ডম, লাইক আই র্যান্ডমাইজ থিংস, আই জাস্ট গো থ্রু ডিফারেন্ট what should I say, like one thing that you can try is you can look for different backgrounds on Google or on Freepik, on Pinterest, and then you try to recreate it. Even not definitely ki ওই exact জিনিসটা you can recreate, like color scheme, placements and all. So ব্যাপারটা হচ্ছে কি, if you like that, তুই ওটাকে নিলি, you take that up, try rebuilding it, but ব্যাপারটা হচ্ছে some way or the other it will be a better version of it, কারণ কি you are getting that idea from that, আর নিজের একটু ডিজাইনিং স্কিলস তুই অ্যাপ্লাই করছিস। and about different what should I say, background difference, এইটা তো ডিপেন্ড করছে তুই পোস্টে দিবিটা কি, according to that you design the background, or like both ways ই করতে পারিস। you first think of the background, then decide what you are going to post on it, যেটা like 99% এ হয় না, because you know what you are going to post, আর তারপরে you decide the background. So you play around একটু, experience you understand how things work.
Also, if backgrounds multiple দেওয়া আছে, তো একটা থিম তো অলওয়েজ মেনটেন করা যেতেই পারে। লাইক মানে একটা থিম যদি মাইন্ডে তৈরি করে নিতে পারিস যে এই থিমটাই কন্টিনিউ করবো পুরো পোস্টে, তো আই ডোন্ট থিঙ্ক তোর মাল্টিপল ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড তৈরি করতে প্রবলেম হবে না। এটা আমি পার্সোনালি আমার তাই মনে হয়। We have all come across this while creating brochures. So আমরা like we always choose a color palette at first, মানে একটা র্যান্ডম কালার প্যালেট চুজ করে যেটা দেখতে ভালো হয়, তারপর একটু ট্রায়াল এন্ড এরর করে শেডিং গুলো চুজ করে নিই। শেডিং চুজ করার পর আমরা ওই শেডটা ইউজ করে মাল্টিপল ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ডস বানাই যেগুলো আমাদের দেখে ভালো লাগে। তারপর obviously অনেক টাইম টেকিং প্রসেস, বাট ইট হ্যাজ ওয়ার্কড ফর আস সো ফার। অনেক কটা তৈরি হয়, অনেক কটা ডিসকার্ড হয়, এরকম ভাবে চলতে থাকে। তো এন্ডে কি আমরা ওই সর্ট অফ যেটা তুই বলছিস মাল্টিপল ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ডস বাট সেম থিম, এরকম একটা পাই জিনিস।
বেসিক্যালি যত করতে থাকবে তত বেটার হবে। এরকম বললে এরকম বোঝানো যাবে না কি করে হয়।
এক্স্যাক্টলি, তুই যদি জাস্ট লাইক ব্রোশার পেজেস গুলো দিয়ে যাস, তখন বেটার আইডিয়া হবে, কেন কি তোর ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ডও চেঞ্জ হয়, ভেক্টরস সাইটে অনেক চেঞ্জ হয়, বাট ওভারঅল থিমটা সেম থাকে থ্রুআউট দি এন্টায়ার ব্রোশার।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
No problem. Anything else?
भैया थोड़ा सा ये जानना था कि लेट्स से कोई टॉपिक है, जैसे हम रिसेंटली म्यूचुअल फंड्स का लिया था, ओके, सो लाइक बैकग्राउंड मस्ट हैव समथिंग ना जो उस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक को रिप्रेजेंट करे, यू नो, सो दैट पीपल गेट अट्रैक्टेड टू दैट थिंग एंड देन at least it looks good, you know, they don't have to read to understand कि क्या चल रहा है। तो मेरे को ये समझना था कि लाइक कितना एलिमेंट्स यूज कर सकते हैं टू मेक इट अट्रैक्टिव इनफ, like 5-6 elements in a post, or let's say to keep it to a minimum number.
इसके लिए तुमको यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग, यू डू नॉट वांट टू मेक योर पोस्ट टेक्स्ट हेवी इन एनी वे। तो ज्यादा टेक्स्ट तुमको नहीं देना है, पहले दिमाग में रहना चाहिए। और उसके बाद जो हायरार्की का चीज था वो थोड़ा ध्यान में रखना चाहिए कि वेयर द व्यूअर्स शुड गिव देयर फोकस। तो उससे तुम्हारा पोस्ट क्या होगा, थोड़ा अट्रैक्टिव होगा। उसके बाद तुम चूज कर लो कि लेआउट क्या कैसे होगा, धीतिमान जो बोला, तो उसका एक्सपीरियंस तुमको काम आएगा इधर कि लेआउट कौन से पोजीशन में कौन सी चीज रखूंगा, कहाँ टेक्स्ट रखूंगा, कहाँ एलिमेंट्स रखूंगा। तो उससे क्या होता है, तुम्हारा पोस्टर उससे ज्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग होता है। और फिर अपने मन से कलर पैलेट से चूज कर लो और फिर टेक्स्ट डालो। ऐसा कोई फिक्स नंबर नहीं है कि एक पोस्ट में ये बिजनेस का पोस्ट है तो 3 ही एलिमेंट्स रहेंगे, ये इवेंट का पोस्ट है तो 4 एलिमेंट नहीं है, ऐसा कोई फिक्स नंबर नहीं है। ऐसा जब तुम मल्टीपल पोस्ट यू विल बी मेकिंग, देन यू विल बी गेटिंग एन आइडिया व्हाट टू डू। तो मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग इज तुम बनाओ, कुछ खुद से ट्राई करो, वरना तुम समझ नहीं पाओगे। और उसके बाद ये जो हायरार्की, लेआउट और कलर स्कीम, जो भी चीज पीपीटी में बोला है उसको जरा ध्यान में रखोगे तो हो जाएगा, अच्छा इंटरेस्टिंग लगेगा। ऐसा कोई फिक्स चीज नहीं है।
नहीं, इसमें हर एक
Okay,
इंसान का एक डिजाइन सेंस होता है। मैंने कुछ लोग मिनिमलिस्ट डिजाइन बनाते हैं, कुछ लोग का बहुत एक्स्ट्रावेगेंट डिजाइन होता है, बहुत कुछ होता है डिजाइन में। तो बट वो बहुत कुछ होने के बाद भी सूदिंग होता है डिजाइन। मैंने बहुत कुछ डाल रहा है तो आंख में लग के आ जाएगा,
हाँ,
ऐसा
वो
नहीं डिजाइन।
वो वैसा हुआ था, उस पहला वाला हो सकता है।
हाँ, तो वहाँ पे वो लेआउट याद रखना जरूरी है कि थोड़ा बहुत मतलब सेम एलिमेंट्स डाल के भी कितने सारे पोस्ट हो सकते हैं जस्ट बाय चेंजिंग अराउंड द पोजीशंस ऑफ इट। सो वो थोड़ा करते करते थोड़ा एक्सपीरियंस में समझ आएगा, वही जो अनुपम बोला। तो कोशिश करो तभी होगा, वरना तो ऐसे अभी तो समझ भी नहीं आएगा क्या करना है। हम भी
हाँ, वो
ऐसे ही
तो है।
थे 1 साल पहले।
पूरा ठीक, पूरा अजीब सा बनाया था हम, तो भैया बोले कि नहीं प्लेन करके दो एंड आई वाज लाइक क्या करें।
तो अगर ऐसा लग रहा है कि थोड़ा मतलब इंस्पिरेशन नहीं मिल रहा या फिर मतलब रुक गए हो कि आगे नहीं बढ़ पा, तो कंसल्ट इंटरनेट। सो हमेशा वहाँ पे तुमको अच्छा डिजाइन मिल जाएगा। तो अगर साइट्स रिकमेंड करने मतलब बोलोगे तो पिंटरेस्ट, बीहैंस, अगर ये नाम सुना है तो अच्छा है। और ये मतलब यहाँ पे डिजाइन्स और डिजाइन्स के लिए इंस्पिरेशन बहुत अच्छे अच्छे मिलेंगे। और इन पिंटरेस्ट तो मतलब बहुत कॉमन है, वहाँ पे तो बहुत कुछ मिलता है। तो ग्राफिक डिजाइनिंग भी उसमें से एक है। मैं खुद तो पिंटरेस्ट से बहुत आइडिया लेके अब तक पोस्ट बनाए थे। यू कैन कंसल्ट दैट
Pinterest
अगर
में
कभी
काफी
लगे कि
ज्यादा आइडिया
इंस्पिरेशन
मिलेंगे
नहीं मिल
हमको
रहा।
जो भी चाहिए।
ठीक है भैया। तो
Anything else?
Nobody else has a question?
ইয়েস, তোমরা বললে যে মানে ভেক্টরের ব্যাপারে বললে, ঠিক আছে। ভেক্টরটা কি কোনো ফাইল, মানে কোনো গ্রাফিক্সের কি আলাদা ফাইল ফরম্যাট, নাকি ওটা একটা এলিমেন্ট মানে অফ
ওটা একটা
ডিজাইন?
element,
মানে ভেক্টর একটা
ডিজাইনিং এর
টাইপ
element।
অফ এলিমেন্ট। মানে তুই ভেক্টর ইমেজ যদি সার্চ করিস গুগলে তাহলে দেখবি সর্ট অফ ইলাস্ট্রেশনস পাবি সবসময়। মানে খুব ফ্ল্যাট কালার্স দিয়ে, খুব গ্রেডিয়েন্ট নেই, ফ্ল্যাট কালার্স দিয়ে সিম্পল মানে জিওমেট্রিক শেপস ইউজ করে ওগুলো বানানো, সবকিছু অনেক ইমেজ বানানো যায়। তো
মানে তুই
ওই ইলাস্ট্রেশন গুলোকে
vectors
ভেক্টর
কে
বলতে পারি আমরা।
মানে কাইন্ড অফ একটু মিনিমালিস্টিক ক্লিপ আর্ট ভাবতে পারিস।
Yes,
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা আচ্ছা।
clip art
Better
would
format
actually
of
be a
the
very
image.
good description.
Anything else from anyone?
Shadow.
অ্যাডোবেরও ফ্রি নামানোই যায়, ওটা তুই জানা আছে।
ইলাস্ট্রেটরে ফ্রি নামানো যায়।
অ্যাডোবের পেড কে ইউজ করে এখানে আমি
হ্যাঁ,
সেটাই
আমরা
ওটাই তো
আমরা ইলাস্ট্রেটর
কি করি না।
পেড ইউজ করি।
দেখ
আমরা সবাই
নেটের
free
মধ্যে
use
তো
বাট
সব
যদি
পেয়ে
মানে
যাবি।
ভয় থাকে যে একটু মানে তোকে ফ্রি সফটওয়্যারই নামাতে হয়, তো ইলাস্ট্রেটরের বদলে আই উড রেকমেন্ড ইঙ্কস্কেপ। ইঙ্কস্কেপ মানে ইঙ্কস্কেপ ইজ ভালো। ইলাস্ট্রেটরে সব ফাংশনস নেই, বাট ইট ওয়ার্কস কোয়াইট গুড। ইঙ্কস্কেপ
ইলাস্ট্রেটর
আমি
তুই
ইউজ
যদি
করেছি।
পুরোটা শিখতে যাস তো
হ্যাঁ।
লেগে যাবে অনেক দিন, 3 মাস মতন লেগে যাবে, এত টুলস আছে।
ইঙ্কস্কেপ কাইন্ড অফ ওয়ার্কস ইনটুইটিভলি, কিন্তু
হ্যাঁ,
সেটাও বলা যেতে পারে। ইলাস্ট্রেটরের থেকে একটু ইজি হবে ইঙ্কস্কেপ, এটা
অবভিয়াসলি এক্সেসিভ পয়সা না থাকলে কেনার কোনো দরকার নেই, সব ফ্রিতে পাওয়া যায়।
And start with Canva. मतलब first get a design
Ah,
sense and
first,
then go on to Photoshop and Illustrator and all
yes,
that.
definitely.
Canva has the added advantage कि तुमको टेम्पलेट मिल रहा है ना.
Exactly.
So if you
हाँ,
see
जो
templates,
सब-
you get actually more experience, and you will see that your designs are getting better. You will see it for yourself.
In Illustrator, you start with nothing.
Nothing,
When
exactly.
you
Blank
start
page
with
है,
nothing, it is difficult.
दो तरफ कॉलम है. कुछ पता नहीं क्या टूल्स है क्या है, तो वो थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा.
Exactly.
भैया एक
Okay,
और
I
चीज
have
समझना
I
था।
have a list of links for this Illustrator or Photoshop. I will post it in the group. तुम उस लिंक से डाउनलोड कर लेना जिसको भी चाहिए।
हाँ भैया एक क्वेश्चन था एक और।
बोल बोल।
हाँ तो मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि जैसे कोई सा इवेंट है, ओके, एंड कुछ हम लोग को कुछ बनाना है इन विच इज इंफॉर्मेटिव, तो लाइक तो अब इंफॉर्मेशन देना लिखना तो पड़ेगा ही।
हाँ
तो हाउ टू मेक इट लेस, यू नो, लेस।
तो इसका तो मतलब ये तो मुश्किल है. हम लोग भी बहुत प्रॉब्लम फंसते कि टेक्स्ट बहुत ज्यादा होता है. तो अब उनको सबसे पहला पॉइंट तो समराइज करो. जो भी टेक्स्ट आएगा, जो भी कंटेंट राइटर अगर तुमको बहुत सारा टेक्स्ट दिया, तो ट्राई टू पिक आउट द फ्रेजेस दैट मेक द मोस्ट सेंस. तो सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रेजेस निकाल लो और उसको काइंड ऑफ मेक इट एज अ पेज हेडर डाल दो या कुछ कर दो, ठीक है. तो जैसे जो लोग जब पढ़ेंगे तो एक जिस्ट मिलेगा सिर्फ वो हेडर्स और जो छोटे छोटे फ्रेज है वो पढ़ के. फिर उसके साथ एक्स्ट्रा इन्फॉर्मेशन जो है वो ऐड करते रहो पेज के, मतलब जो मतलब फॉन्ट साइज कम करके, या फिर थोड़ा लेस डोमिनेटिंग इन द पेज, वैसे करके बाकी टेक्स्ट डालना स्टार्ट करो. और अगर फिर भी लगे कि ज्यादा हो रहा है, तो ट्राई टू इंक्रीज द नंबर ऑफ पेजेस. अब तो एक लिमिट होता है कि इंस्टाग्राम में तुम अगर 20 पेज का कुछ पोस्ट करोगे कोई पढ़ेगा नहीं.
कोई पढ़ने वाला।
हाँ, तो वो एक मतलब ऑप्टिमल एक पोजीशन होगा ना बीच में कि 8 पेजेस है और जितना टेक्स्ट है उसको कम करके तुम एक रीडेबल एरिया में लेके गए हो. तो एक वो ऑप्टिमल पोजीशन पे जाना है. वही थोड़ा बहुत ट्रायल एंड एरर करके कोशिश करके होगा, यही करना होगा.
Okay, Asif, I have provided the links. You can download it from there.
হ্যাঁ দাদা, এটার ইনস্টল করার প্রসিডিওরটা বলে দাও. মানে লিংকটাই গিয়ে তো ডাইরেক্ট ডাউনলোড হয়ে যাবে, মানে অপশন থাকবে?
হ্যাঁ, ওখানে কিছু বোধহয় মেগা থেকে আছে, কিছু বোধহয় তোর জি ড্রাইভ লিংক আছে, ওখানে যাবি, তোর ডাউনলোড করবি, দেন ওর তো সেটআপ ফাইলটা ইনস্টল হবে, মানে ডাউনলোড হবে, দেন ওখান থেকে ইনস্টল করবে. কিছু নেই, কোনো পাসওয়ার্ড চাইলে 1 2 3 দিয়ে দিবি.
আচ্ছা,
প্রবলেম 1 2 3 ঠিক আছে.
ঠিক আছে, থ্যাংক ইউ. আর দাদা তোমার নাম্বারটা নেই অনুপম দা তো ওখানে
গ্রুপে ট্যাগ করে
গ্রুপে
দে তো
আছে,
না।
গ্রুপে আছে.
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে.
হ্যাঁ.
Anyone, any other questions?